Welcome my friends. I know that talking about storage isn't as exciting as PC builds and cameras, lenses and things like that, but knowing the right storage solution for your workflow can actually make you money because you're saving a lot of time, and time is money, but it can also save you from a very awkward conversation with your client, and you don't have to tell them, oops, I lost the footage. So there's a lot to talk about, and I hope you're going to learn something new in this video. So let's jump right into it. First of all, let's establish some terms. Now you might know this already, well done to you, but if you don't, here it goes. So two of the mainstream ways of storing things is SSD and hard drive. Okay, and they both have pros and cons with each of them. Now there's also like hybrid versions of each of them, like a hybrid hard drive when there's like a little SSD and hard drive put together, but this is kind of two main ways of storing things. So hard drives might look something like that, full size 3.5-inch drive or a small 2.5-inch laptop size drive, or like an external hard drive. They both have moving components inside, and for that reason that is one of the biggest weakness of the hard drives. They're very fragile, they're not very durable in that way, not very portable, not very good for portable hard drives because they can be damaged inside, like shocks or drops can damage them. Another bad side of the hard drives is that it's much louder than SSD because there's moving compartments, they also make noise. It's not as fast as an SSD. So you're wondering, why do you even recommend hard drives if there's so many bad sides about them? They have one very good side going for them, which actually makes this a very good reason for storing your things or using the hard drives as an archive, is that it's very cheap. The cheapest way of storing archive footage is hard drives. And there's ways of making the hard drives more reliable and redundant. We're going to talk into that in a moment. The other way of storing is SSD. Now the good side about SSDs is that there's no moving compartments. It can look like that. So the good side is that it's super fast. It's much faster than the hard drives, can be even 10 times faster or even more times faster than the hard drives. And they can be very portable because obviously there's no moving compartments. They can be very small. They'll be very good for portable. Another thing is they're very quiet. In fact, completely silent. When you plug this one in or that one in, they make no sound. One of the only bad sides about the SSDs is that it's much more expensive than the hard drives. Okay, just to clarify if you didn't know that already. So before we're going to talk about different workflows and the best workflows for your storage needs, there are different factors that you might need to consider. Redundancy and reliability. How important is that for you? Portability. How important is the speed of the storage device? How important is the capacity of the storage device? And last of all, how important are the functionalities of the storage device, meaning connecting to the internet and sending things on it and acting as a private cloud. So these are like the different aspects of the storage workflow. Now, I'd like to introduce you what I think is the best workflow for storing or for creatives. So the best professional storage workflow, what I think is possible, is of having your operating system and program drives. So whether you're editing on a laptop, PC, Mac, anything like that, where your editing program sits on, and then next to it is a NAS storage. I've got one example over here. So basically, if you don't know what NAS storage is network attached storage system. So basically you're gonna have like a little box or a bigger box. Inside the box there are hard drives. Okay, so in here there's 4 bays, as you can see. So if I take one of these out, boom, inside there is a hard drive. This can be as big or as small as you want. So how that would work is you're editing straight off the NAS drive. You're gonna connect to the NAS to your computer. Basically, the good thing is it's fast, it is reliable because it's constantly backed up. You've got the functionalities of if your project is file or you're exporting your photos, video, designs, things like that, you can straight away from the NAS, because it's connected to the internet as well, send a private link to your client and say, here you go, download it. You don't have to use any third-party services to send it to your client. So now this way we're gonna have, it's reliable, it's redundant, it makes backups itself, it's very safe, it's fast. This, I think, is the best way of working, or the most professional way, and not being afraid that you're going to lose any files while having all the speeds possible. So there are some things that you need to know about this workflow if you're not familiar with a NAS drive. So one of the bad sides of having this is that the NAS drive, or the system of a NAS, can be very expensive. All the hard drives cost a lot inside, and if you have, you know, cache drive with SSDs inside to make it fast as well, it can be even faster. And another thing is it's not very portable. And also your computer needs to have the hardware to connect to the NAS drive very fast in order to read the files of the NAS drive very fast. I'm gonna leave a few videos in the description where you can check out Max Yuriev's and Matthew Monitz's video of some of the more budget-friendly NAS drive options, or if you want to go more higher end, whereas Max Yuriev is absolutely amazing how he explains some of the things. And if you're looking into NAS drives and which one to buy, definitely check these out in the description as well. I'm going to leave some of the links also for which ones to buy and things like that in the description if you want to check them out. One of the biggest things that I thought about NAS drive is you have to buy the whole lot up in front, and it's going to be very expensive. But the thing is, because it's a NAS drive and it's using it RAID and things like that, what you can do, what I've done in here as well actually, is that I've got only 2 hard drives occupied over here, and the other 2 are empty. As you can see, there is nothing inside. And the reason for that is that it's still backing up, and the minimum you should start with is 2. So basically it's backing each other up, but then as your storage gets more full, you just add another drive and add another drive and add another drive. The good thing is with this unit, you can even daisy chain these together, get another one of these, put them on top of each other, connect them up, and then the whole thing becomes one pool of storage. So that way it's not as big of a cash out up front where you want to buy the NAS drives. So another thing you need to look out for is the speed of the NAS storage. So I would, you know, label it into 2 categories, like archive, where you don't need the speed but a lot of storage, and then where you need the speed and you can edit off the NAS drive. So this one over here is not meant to be edited on, but just more like the storage and archive, but as like a safe backed up archive of the things over here. So depending on what you need, if you need to edit on this, might have to opt to some more expensive ones, or if you just need the archive, then you can spend less, obviously. Your computer also needs to be able to transfer the speeds very fast. So one of the most common ways of connecting to the NAS drive is 10 gigabit LAN port or Ethernet port. So if your computer doesn't have that, you're gonna need a 10 gigabit port on your PC or computer or Mac or things like that, which the new Mac Pro has and more professional workstations have. But also, if you have just running a PC, you can easily buy a PCIe expansion card for the 10 gigabit Ethernet port, which I'm going to leave in the description, and you can easily get that transfer speed. Or another way of connecting is a Thunderbolt 3 port, and then you can connect your NAS straight to your computer if you're using Macs or things like that. Just make sure that your NAS has a Thunderbolt 3 port or has an expansion slot where you can put the Thunderbolt 3 cards in. The last downside of this NAS is that it can be loud and big. Because there's moving parts inside here, it's obviously going to make noise, plus the fan of this computer inside running all these hard drives, it's all going to add up and make some noise. Now, some of the good sides about this, which I already slightly mentioned before, is it's very reliable, it backs itself up, and it's very fast if you want it to be. Another good thing is there's a lot of different functionalities about the NAS drives. It basically works like as your private cloud, and you can access this even in a hotel room somewhere where you need to download these files or upload your project and back it up. You can just use a hotel Wi-Fi, and then with a password you can back it up in your home office where this NAS drive is, which is absolutely awesome. Or send your client some files, private link. The functionalities of the NAS storage solution is absolutely amazing, and it can actually save you money if you're using a lot of third-party services for sending your files to like Mediaseller or cloud services. You might not have to have these if you have this. Now, I mentioned that one of the bad sides is that it can be loud, but this is also very easily fixable, because you can just put this NAS storage in a cupboard or just somewhere, hide it away in a different room where it doesn't bother you, and then just run the cables to your needed computer and it's completely silent. Now, don't forget, it's very easily upgradable. You can just add hard drives or bigger hard drives, and it's just basically plug in and play. So this should cover the best professional storage workflow. Now let's talk some of the alternatives now. I'm still working towards the best storage workflow because you know, it can cost quite a lot up front. But if you don't have that money up front, what is the best what you can do in the meantime to not spend that much money. So how my workflow works is it's all in one PC on a different hard drives, SSDs, but this is how it's laid out. So first of all, I've got my OS drive where the program and the operating system is on, and that is on an SSD. In fact, it's a Sabre Rocket 1 terabyte PCI 4.0, which is a super fast drive. I'm going to leave it in the description below if you want to check that out, and the other hard drives I'm talking about as well. That runs the programs super fast. Next of all, I have the project files where there's the project files, you know, video, audio, whatever files you have over there, pictures, all of this stay on one of those files. Then there's a cache drive where basically the scratch disks of that program are stored, so any temporary files that the program might need to use are on a separate SSD. And then last of all, there's a hard drive of the storage. So once the program is completed, I'm going to move it off the project file and delete the cache files and then put it on a storage over there. So if I need to access it, I can still access it, but I don't need the speed. So it's stored on a much more affordable hard drive, okay, which is a Seagate 4 terabyte hard drive. Now these are the best bang for buck hard drives if you're looking for per terabyte hard drives to store this with. Also, recently found out that there's Sabre Rocket Q M.2 NVMe SSDs, which are almost the same price as a normal 2.5-inch SSD, which is connected through SATA, but having almost 5 times faster transfer speeds. If you want to check it out, the link is in the description. Basically, I've got a project, you know, for example, this video over here, I'm moving all the files into the project folder, you know, copying it off the SD card, putting it on the project folder, then making the project, and then the scratch disks I'm either putting on the same drive as, you know, the OS drive. Sometimes I'm leaving them same on the project drive, but the ideal way would be to have them on a separate SSD. All the temporary files go over there. You're editing your files, things like that. The project is complete. Then I'm moving the whole project files, including the exports, boom, onto the hard drive where it's slower storage solution, but I don't need it to be fast because I might not even need to access it over there. And then that kind of circles around, then new ones over there. Sometimes the hard drive gets full. Obviously, what you're going to do, another cheap way of expanding that storage is external hard drives. Just buy one of the terabyte, 2 terabyte, 4 terabyte hard drives. There's loads of cheap ones available on Amazon. You can see some links in the description as well. And then just store them over there if you need them projects to store that way. Obviously, that's not ideal because you're going to have these piled up everywhere and it's quite hard to make sure which ones are which and plugging them in and out. You know, oh, was it on this drive? Was it on that drive? That's why NAS is much better. But it still works if you need to save the money. So the good sides about this workflow is, most of all, it's much more affordable, can be much more affordable than the NAS drive workflow. Secondly, is that there's also no bottlenecks of like one single thing. If you have them all on one drive, you know, that one drive is probably going to run out and it's going to be bottlenecking because it can't read the files all from there, because it's reading the program, it's reading the project files, it's reading the everything off that, and it might not be as fast. So this way, there's not a single drive that's been bottlenecks. It's all like spread out over the different drives. And also it's a little bit more safer this way because your programs can be spread out, because if you don't need to delete your project off the SSD drive, you can leave it over there and then also store it on there. So you've got 2 separate copies of that project. It's also fairly cheap because you can just find the cheapest hardware, you know, and what's the best bang for buck drives. And there's loads of compatibilities available if you're looking for hard drives or M.2 SSDs, things like that, and very easily upgradable. And last good thing about this is it keeps the system clean. So you certainly know where your files are. It's not like it's just backed on one single drive and the files are all over the place, but you know that, okay, I'm moving everything on this drive and then moving it off their drive, and then you can delete the cache files. It just keeps your files organized. So the bad side of this workflow is that it can easily run out of space, okay, because often I'm copying the files everywhere, so the same file might be copied on a different drives, and then the drives can fill up very fast if you need to keep the project files and keep it safe. So it just fills up very, very fast. Probably the major big downside is not as safe or reliable as the NAS drive, obviously, because all the drives are on a single PC. So if anything happens to the PC, or, you know, where your PC is, let's say someone steals it or it burns down, you're gonna lose the whole workflow over there. So now let's move into more specific workflow, which is a portable workflow. So if you need a professional portable workflow, let's say you're moving around a lot and you're doing a lot of on the road, run and gun shooting, and then you have to edit them and upload them and do them. How do you store your files then? The most professional way how I would do it is you would have obviously your, let's say, laptop you're editing this on. Next of all, you've got the fast SSD that you're going to be editing on, because often the laptops can't provide you that much space. So what you have is like a portable SSD drive. It might look like that, or it might look this size, but obviously this is hard drive, but 2.5-inch SSD drive. But if you're wondering what this is, basically this one is an M.2 drive inside this enclosure over here. And you can get ridiculously fast speeds of this and know that your drive is never going to be bottlenecked because it's very, very, very fast. So inside here, there is an NVMe drive. And as you can see, it just connects through USB-C over here to your laptop, whether you're using MacBook or any other laptop, and then you can just edit off this drive. Links for some of these enclosures in the description as well. And then once the editing is done, what you can then do is obviously upload it, or if you have already some cloud storage, upload it to the cloud, but sometimes you don't have that. Then what I would recommend is also having a hard drive, external hard drive. So the project goes over here and then the storage goes over here, okay? That way you can keep the project file emptier, and then if you can have copies on both, and you have two separate copies of the same project. And obviously you can be a little bit more creative with this, is that you might have this one project drive where you only store the projects, but then have two hard drives where you're going to keep duplicate basically them over each other, so you've got the project later on storage on both of these. If you can't access internet or can't back it up on the cloud, this is how you would work. Now, this is what I would consider like the most professional way of storage workflow and how you would use it. Now, what I would add is that for all of these workflows, what you can do is add a cloud-based backup. So, however you've set up your workflow, whether it's portable, like my workflow, or NAS storage workflow, you can also back your files up in the cloud. So you can get, cloud services where you can just back up your whole NAS drive, or your whole archives, or your whole drives, or your computer, things like that. So you can add that to all of these workflows, which is probably going to be like the most ideal way of doing it. But obviously not everyone can afford it, which I understand. So I hope this made sense to you and was helpful for you. If you have anything to add, I'd always like to hear from you guys. So leave me a comment in the comment section below. If you have anything to add, or any other angles of a workflow where something else needs to be considered that I just couldn't think of, I'd love to know from you guys. Always learning more tips and tricks from the comment section below. Remember, hit that like button, it actually makes a difference. Subscribe if you haven't already. Check out the description for some useful links and drives that I'm using and what I think are probably the best bang for buck drives, things like that. And I'll see you next time. Thank you very much guys for watching. See you soon. Bye bye.